All right,
Oh,
so
yeah.
this is via at Perched Top Rope, which is via Fightful Select. Sorry for obsessing, bro. I'm sorry, I'm obsessed, bro.
God, yeah.
Um,
Can you get this out of your system? Can we just
there are
start with the Sean
AEW
Ross Sapp shit?
releases. There are AEW releases per Fightful Select. There's gonna be more apparently, and this comes the same day or the day of that CM Punk does the interview on Ariel Helwani. What do you guys think of these names I'm about to read? So the boys are no longer with AEW, who were with
Darn.
Dalton Castle. Dasha,
Why?
the
Hold on.
ring announcer.
Hold on. Let's go with the boys. Why can't Tony Khan afford to have the boys come out? Because they're a huge part of Dalton Castle.
I know, I have no idea, but he's never saw anything in Dalton Castle. He barely fucking uses Dalton Castle correctly.
What a fucking dummy.
Okay, so half of his 2/3 of the fucking boys act is done. Oh no, we'll just get any other boys. Any boys can be the boys.
Well, how about Okada?
So then they released
Okay.
Dasha. They released Dasha, the ring announcer, the good one. Like, I'm sorry, she's better than Justin Roberts. So, what are your thoughts on that? Like, doesn't she ring announce every fucking Rampage and Collision or whatever? What are your guys' thoughts on that one?
Who isn't better than Justin Roberts? Sorry, but yeah, insane. Just to run the whole list for a second, have you noticed these are people who are all towards the bottom of the pay scale at AEW?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
So these people are being either sacrificed either for Okada, Mercedes Moné, and Will Ospreay, or they're being sacrificed in order to try and make a point because CM Punk said something in an interview, which is just as bad.
Well, yeah, and we're gonna get to that. So Jose the assistant gets released. He's super over with me, and especially on X, he's super over with me.
Is that the guy with
And
Pentagon?
No, this is the guy with Roosh, and he was with Andrade and stuff. And Roosh is always just like, okay, Roosh is never being used either, and it's like, why are these guys like not being used correctly? And yeah, so they release him, but like not Roosh. So now Roosh just like doesn't have his manager with him. Like, this is such weird people he chose to let go. Jara
Phil,
Joel.
you know what this? Sorry, mate, Phil. You know what this reminds me of? Is like Tony's been told to clean his room and he's had to put some toys in a box in order to give them to the charity.
Yeah, the ones pick some to give away to lesser kids. You're grown out of these ones, Tony. Oh my god, that's so funny. Jora Joel. So he was like a I believe he's from or his heritage, he's Indian. Not like me, but like, Indian. Anthony Henry, so one half of the Workhorsemen. So he teams with JD Drake, but he's released. Okay. Gravity, who wrestled like 3 matches and is, I think, like Commander's brother or some shit like that. They were saying one of the other Lucha's brothers is Gravity. Stu Grayson fired for a second time from AEW.
Christ.
Come on, man. He's such a great athlete. Like, you could do. And then Parker Boudreaux, who was in NXT before, and he came in to AEW and was used in one faction and then was switched over to Swerve's faction. And then he was just never seen again. And I always put him over huge. He follows PWT on X, but he was released. So I don't know, man. He's kind of people are like, he's the next Brock Lesnar because he's a freak athlete, but he's kind of cheesy in the ring. Shout him out though. And then Slim J was released from AEW. Cool. Are you guys familiar with Slim J?
I am not.
Yeah, so Tony, this happened like, okay, do you guys think this happened because of what CM Punk said, or this was already planned beforehand? I asked this to the panel on Toonie Talk Wrestling last night. I want to ask it to you guys.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it is a response to the Punk interview, because if we know one thing, Tony has, previous form for are absolute knee-jerk reactions to try and prove to people that what we're saying is not what the actual reality is. So I could totally see it being Tony saying, right, do some budget cuts to make us look like a real business, that kind of thing. On the other side, to give the benefit of the doubt and play devil's advocate a little bit, these types of things do tend to happen when TV deals are imminent. So, it happened with WWE, and, certain things happened before the company was merged with, the UFC and Endeavor. So, when big business transactions happen, these types of things tend to happen. So, I remain 50-50 on that, but, knowing the brittleness of certain egos, shall we say, I wouldn't be surprised if what the narrative is in terms of the effect of the CM Punk interview, there's a little bit more to it than what we would like to think.
Yeah, Hairline, your thoughts on those cuts?
Man, I I don't know if it's like necessarily because of the CM Punk thing, but I can also see it being. I don't know. Like I see both sides. Like I could totally see it as. Oh, watch this! I don't need Slim J. Would a clown get rid of Slim J?
Yeah, when
So,
Eric,
I don't know.
when Conrad and Eric were talking about it, Conrad goes, "Well, it seems like Punk says he isn't a good boss, but this seems like boss things to me." It's just like, bro, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, he fired Slim J, who actually needs a job. If anybody needs a job, like,
What does Tony have to do to gain any form of criticism from Conrad? That's what I want to know. Like, did he need to be caught in bed with his wife or something?
why didn't he let
And
Dustin
probably
Rhodes
not.
go so he could be at
Probably
WrestleMania?
not. Probably not. Like, if Conrad found Tony Khan in bed with his wife, he probably took him in.
Yeah, dude. So Slim J, speaking of which, not to take shots at him, but here's what Slim J said. This is a statement from Wrestling Observer. Don't worry, Dave. We're getting to you. So thank you to the fans that supported me. My gimmick was trash. I get that. I knew that. My work wasn't enough, or wasn't though, pardon me. I worked my shoot job through through both contracts with AEW. So he got more than one contract in AEW. What the fuck? My role there was to act rich. I've always been far from that in real life. Promise that. All I wanted to do. Yeah, you gonna act rich? Tony, I wait tables. I have a real job. Like, are you gonna pay me enough to act rich? Oh, no, it's cool.
Yeah.
You'll just be in Ring of Honor, bro. No one knows the difference. It's wrestling. Haha. Everyone knows it's fake. All I wanted to do once I was signed was to get my wife and daughter out of the shithole we live in. They're my everything by far. I failed. Does it mean I quit? Not at all. Mouths to feed and I'm broke as F.
Oh yeah.
So I'm looking for a second job. Stop
Jesus,
sleeping on me.
GCW.
Jesus, man. I didn't even read that before now. Shout out Slim J, dude. I feel for you. I don't know what you weren't doing with your money, though, dude. Like, you got to make sure you're on top of that. But again, was Tony paying him? That's what. So Paul Nolan just said it's the bottom of the bottom. Exactly. Like, was he a guy on like a $50K a year deal, and he's got kids?
Yeah,
so
something like that. It's something like that. And these are the real victims of what happens when you can't fill the house. Because let's face it, if they could fill the house, even if they could get double the attendance for their TVs and they're currently getting, let's say, for example, the average attendance was 8,000 instead of 4, these people aren't getting cut. These people are staying in their jobs. These people are getting maybe some more opportunities. And because of the fact that they've got more people, I saw a tweet saying that they had more people signed on the roster than they were in the crowd last week. And, again, obviously that's an exaggeration, but if their actual live attendances were not in the situation that they're in, do these budget cuts need to happen? On top of the massive contracts being handed out to top level free agent talents like Ospreay, Okada, and Mone.
Right. And so as you can see on the screen, we have this giga chat of a man, Chris Van Vliet. Truly like the best in the business. He's a guy that shows you don't have to be a filthy fucking animal like your boy Phil over here, and you can be genuine and to ask the real questions and platform people. Not platform in a negative way, but just like he gives anyone a platform at least to speak their piece and give their piece. So shout out Chris Van Vliet. He's the GOAT, and Canada, stand up. So, but besides all that, Matt Hardy, speaking of AEW contracts and sort of just touching on what you were, and you keep bringing up Mone, Mercedes Mone, of course, Paul Nolan does. And so I got a little clip of her too, but this is Matt Hardy. So I watched this whole interview. It was like half hour long. And Matt Hardy just talked about basically like they could be used better. Him and Jeff are an attraction. They don't even have to do that old style. He just talks about how his contract is coming up, and he hopes that, like, basically just how he feels like as a legend, like that people, if you listen to the underlying what he's saying, it's that people don't in AEW don't see him as like an attraction with his brother. They don't value him as like what he's contributed to pro wrestling, which this is just sad hearing, I guess. But here's just a little clip of that.
You know, it's been pretty public that your AEW contract's coming to an end.
Mm-hmm.
What are you thinking about when you're thinking about what's next? If it's re-signing there, if it's going back to WWE, what's important to you at this stage of your life?
What's important to me, I think more than anything else right now, is just like the legacy of Jeff and I, because, you know, we do get that. We get mentioned in the conversation of the greatest tag team ever.
Of course.
And we want to help younger teams. We want to build teams, but also you have to be put into a position to succeed where you do seem like relevant, where you do seem like you're at the top of your game. You can't just go out there and like get beat every single week. So it's very important to me that we're utilized in the right way so that when we do have a program with someone and we build to a big match, and when they beat us, then it means something.
See, Tony, no building. So when the Hardys get beat, you just job them to Trent Beretta and Orange Cassidy or whatever. People don't give a shit. You can lose to Private Party. It doesn't mean anything if you don't make it mean anything.
Because if you just get beat without reason, it doesn't really mean anything.
You already have the legacy. Like, you are already one of the greatest tag teams of all time, if not the greatest tag team of all time, depending on who you talk to.
Right.
What could possibly change in the next 2 to 5 years?
I mean, I think a legacy could be completed, like a good run as a tag team champion.
See, like, he wants to be now I know people go, well, he just sounds like he doesn't want to lose and he wants to be tag champs. It's like, dude, as soon as they brought Jeff Hardy in to AEW, they should have had a crazy ladder match and had them just win the tag belts from whoever the champs were. Because whatever that was is a moment, and that shit that would give whoever a rub in a rematch. Then when those tag champs eventually beat the Hardy Boys back, but they and then you have all the highlights, and in your history books you can say the Hardy Boys were our tag champs and shit. But Tony's not smart, dude. He's not smart enough to do this shit. Like,
I'm upset that you didn't X-Files.
yeah, I really should. I still can. There's always hope. It's not too late. It's never too late.
God, hold on.
Somewhere else where we have good quality matches, especially working with guys that we are smartly booked against. You know,
Smartly booked. What did I just say?
because Jeff right now is in one of the best stages of his life that he's ever been in. This is throughout the entirety of his wrestling career. You know, he's just got everything together in his personal life, which is really good. And he's also a maniac now that he's in this position. I mean, he gets up every morning at 5 a.m. and that's his drill. So, you know, and he's got kind of going to be in the best shape that we can possibly be.
So they're just talking like they're getting in the best shape ever, blah, 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 blah. They're the Hardys. They deserve more than basically what they're getting. And yeah, I don't see Matt Hardy getting re-signed. And I think he doesn't know because Tony just ghosts people and they don't even get future endeavored. I've talked about it ad nauseum on this show, at least WWE future endeavors people. So they're in the news cycle. AEW, they let you keep your name, great, but what does that do for you if there's no hype, you know? And then on Toonie Talk, we talked about how the 90-day no compete's actually a blessing, and they get paid for that. Tony doesn't even have that set in place. You're just fired and gone. Slim J's got 90 days of no pay, and he's got to find a job. Sorry, Hairline, what were you going to say?
He'll smoke their weed, though. He doesn't give a fuck about
that. Yeah, he'll smoke Big Swole's blunt. Don't give a fuck.
He ain't got 5 on it.
Yeah, so my thoughts on it are that my thoughts on it are it's kind of sad because I can't see them fitting in at WWE under any other situation other than in a Legends contract. Like, I just don't. All right, the tag team division's not the strongest it's ever been, but I don't necessarily see the Hardys in their current state being able to add to that division because, on a personal level, I don't want to see Jeff Hardy doing crazy bumps anymore. I don't want to see him getting shot through and onto ladders and everything else. Like, they don't need to do that anymore. They have nothing left to prove. It's what Chris Van Vliet just said. What have you got left to prove? Like, what's the next 2 to 5 years going to do for your legacy? Well, nothing. But in 2 to 5 years, you can ruin it if you're not careful. So, for me, it's Matt, like, I think they need to, maybe sail off to the distance a little bit and, do some appearances at WWE and have that Legends contract thing. But, for me, it's like, I've got no interest in seeing him in a ring anymore. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. And Matt Hardy actually talked about that. He was like, in the interview, he was like, we don't need to do the same style. He's like, I don't need to be doing what I used to do. He's like, because we can make it impactful in other ways, which it's just basically comes down to the bad creative and booking. And then you have, but you do have the fact that there's NXT and they could really use those guys. I think the Hardy Boys in NXT would be brilliant. They could teach the next gen how to do the ladder shit, how to do the table shit, how to do the hardcore shit, how to get over with character, charisma, all of that, all of those things that they just embodied so well over all of the years. So here's Kenny Omega. At Kenny Omega Man X joking about being released. Why Bucks fire me? No more mud show for me, LOL. So people are getting released and he jokes about getting released. Are you
is
guys
this because this is I said to you there was that staff meeting? Exactly. That staff meeting where he turned around to the whole locker room and said, I would not have hired 80% of you. So I think it's in connection to that.
But it's weird that people are getting released and then he's saying shit like that. And I think too, like, oh, I wouldn't hire 80% of you. And then like, like you have like a Jim Cornette shit on that. And it's like, no, I think Cornette would agree with Kenny in the context of the way Kenny was speaking backstage to those people, how Paul Nolan sort of pointed out on the last show, like, he wouldn't have hired 80% of the motherfuckers back there who, might have rubbed people the wrong way, but like, he's just saying like, a lot of you people I wouldn't have hired, So I think Kenny is more aligned in that way, maybe as he gets older. And then lastly, as we're talking about the AEW management, how they handle things before we get into whatever, because the punks have some say of who get jobs and who don't and who they're comfortable with letting go and who they're not. And here's Mercedes Moné just to put a bow on the releases.
Hold on.
Sorry, Hairline, go ahead.
I'm kind of being an asshole here, but I want you to make the picture larger so we can look at this guy's room.
Okay.
All right,
so
first off,
toys.
Oh, look, he's got a belt. Several belts.
So the CEO of AEW. Does that mean you get to tell the Young Bucks and other talent what to do as CEO?
We work.
This is why you listen to PWT, folks. Okay, this is why you fucking listen to this show, because what is he? Shout out James Stewart, but
no, not shout out James. James Stewart, you're a mark. God.
Dude, is that a picture of her behind him?
Right. Oh, dude, I'm still looking at the room. Funko Popper.
That's a picture of her behind him. And he goes, so as the CEO, do you get to tell the Young Bucks what to do? Bro. She's like, this is adorable. Look at her face.
So the CEO of AEW. Does that mean you get to tell the Young Bucks and other talent what to do as CEO?
We work together as a partnership. I love my EVPs. I love my chairman. And as the CEO, I just bring so much more money to the table.
I think her gimmicks. Oh God, I hate even saying. I think the gimmick's whack. I think it's a whack gimmick, and I think that She's just seems very cheesy. She comes across very, very not being real in all this shit she says, but she's happy about that cool $3 million or whatever she got. You know what I mean? Like however many million they doled out.
She needs WWE writers, and then I'll be down again. You know what I'm saying? Her talent's still there, just not the mic skills.
What did I say? She's not surrounded by WWE talent. What's going to happen next is going to be very, very interesting. And to be honest, that just makes my skin crawl on many, many levels. Notwithstanding the fact that I can guarantee that James Stewart needs to definitely work on strengthening his handshake, shall we say. Honestly, like these are the people who are criticizing Punk for doing what he did to Jack Perry, because these are the same people who are allergic to gyms and have never been in a physical confrontation in their entire lives.
No.
I've got so much to say about that across the Punk interview and also the Ronda Rousey stuff. So, you know, keeping it to Monet for a sec. Just keep it to Monet for a sec. That dead already. It's dead, gone already. Like, it's just crashed and burned for me.
And so, as you see here, Wall Street Journal has reported every year that AEW has been in the red. Every year, AEW has been in the red. It has been anywhere between 10 and 20 million loss yearly. Realistic people have to see this coming sooner or later. So the Wall Street Journal is said that AEW's lost at least 10 to 20 million each year. So we know that it was reported, by Brandon Thurston that it was like 150 million last year, right? With the whole launch of the failed video game and all that. So I don't know your thoughts on that and this little bit of budget cutting. Like, what is Tony trying to just basically to put a bow on all this? What is he trying to show off? We have Mercedes. She's our TV champ. Edge is our other TV champ. We look kind of like WWE. I let go of these talents that maybe 500 grand a year it's saving us. That's it. And it'll be great for the new TV deal. Like, what is he trying to do? What does this all mean? Media deal, right? It's just got to be that. What are your guys' thoughts? Just to put a bow on all that.
Yeah, I think it's trying to impress somebody at TNT, because, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, and actually the way I'm now interpreting it is that deal is in trouble. So what he's trying to do is tighten the ship in order to try and give it a more business-like shift and a bit more of a shine on it. But, you know, to be honest with you, you know, he's putting a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to say that he's polishing a turd, but he's definitely trying to do some repair work. Because, to be honest, I think a lot of the fallout of the CM Punk stuff, given how, you know, remember the promo, one Bill Phil, I've got David Zaslav on speed dial.
Yeah.
Like, his opinion, actually, I think, reaches far further and far deeper than people realize. This is not just making marks on Twitter meltdown. This guy's legitimately a big star, and he's seen as a legitimate businessman. Like, he knows how to make money. He knows how to put people in a house, you know? And his whole thing is that, you know, he's worked with the higher ups at Fox. He's represented by CAA, you know, one of the big talent agencies. So, you know, that I think plays a massive part in it. And I think this is sort of like remedial works in order to try and shore up, you know, the perception when it comes to the negotiating table that they are capable of running a tight ship.
Yeah, Hairline, what about you, man? What are you thinking?
I'm not a clown, and then CM Punk is a frail old man, and we're doing real great. Everything's perfect.